great place to grow up and to live with intention. The head of our school would always say to us, "To whom much is given, much is expected," which is a like funky rewording of a Bible verse. But it really rang true, and it resonates with me. And one Hawaiian value of kuleana, which is translated as responsibility, but it's not just responsibility the way we have in California where we litigate everything, responsible for damages, but responsibility is also a privilege. And I use that strongly as a privilege to be a steward and a privilege to pay it forward and to make the world a better place than the one that we were born into. So that's where I grew up. That's still really important to me. Repping a little bit of my Hawaii vibes. This shirt is from a Native Hawaiian shop that I love in back home.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. And then I went to college. I went to New York. I went to Columbia, and I had island fever. So I was like, get me out of here.
Yo, I was about to say, you literally went from like this kind of nature open, setting to like all brick and mortar and dense.
Yeah. I mean, Hawaii, I had a lot of that going to college where people said like, "How are you doing? Are you okay?" I'm like,
"Are you alive?"
Like, I'm from a city of a million people.
"Are you alive?"
And huge diversity. For me, moving to Manhattan was easy. I just wore the same thing but put a down jacket on top. So like, it was all good. I was like, "Are you okay? You're from a town of 10,000 people in Oklahoma. I'm more concerned about you." I'm in New York. Had a great time being in college. I graduated during the recession. Christiana and I got to catch up.
In 2001, in 2008.
2008, I graduated. So I had a bunch of my classmates that were had gotten management consulting and investment banking offers in the fall of our senior year for companies that no longer existed when we
got. I was just about to say, everything like flipped upside down.
Yeah, it was there's these things that are supposed to be like once in a generation events, and you and I were talking about this. We've had like 8 of them. So
literally, I promise you, I graduated in 2001, 3 months or 4 months before 9/11 happened, 3 or 4 months before 9/11 happened. So I'm all like, I'm about to get this market, and it was like, boom, this is what we not gonna do. So I can relate.
Yeah. So I knew, there weren't a lot of jobs in the investment or consulting space, and I wasn't actually drawn to that at all. I was drawn to social change from those values that I grew up with. So I ended up working in nonprofits for a decade. I was a nonprofit fundraiser because that's what you can get hired for when you have a degree in philosophy.
Same here. Mine is in sociology and Africana studies, and I got hired in a nonprofit as well. Best thing I could have ever done. Literally best.
I lucked out. I had amazing mentors there.
Same.
I appreciate nonprofits. I appreciate philanthropy, but I also don't. It's so slow. There's really weird power dynamics.
Yeah.
In like where people's money to give away came from is built on I was joking around with my partner this morning. Our financial system and philanthropic wealth is built on lies, stolen land, and stolen bodies. And people don't always check. Yeah. Whichever one you want to grapple with first. Mm-hmm. But the system doesn't always want to call itself into question, right? It's like I was seeing that we were making these incremental changes. I was working in career education and youth development. And I was seeing that this isn't solving the problem. We're tinkering at the edges, and philanthropy is like relatively small. So how do we activate more capital for social change than what we give away? And so my co-founder David said, as I was leaving my last role that really drove me crazy, hey, your skill set would be really helpful in building momentum for impact investing in this place that we get overlooked in San Diego. People are like, oh, you're in California. So yeah, I know people in the Bay Area. And we're like, no, we're in Southern California. You're like, oh, well, so LA. And we're like, know, not LA.
Right.
And so being able to build an ecosystem here and to use the strengths that we have, like me more on the community engagement and like always approaching everything from a place of equity, access, and inclusion. And my co-founder coming from spending, I don't even know, how old is he? 20, 25 years in reporting, analytics, and traditional investment management for mostly wealthy families. So he understands like all of these different ways that the financial system works. And we said, okay, if we understand like investors basically as buyer personas, and we understand the community as another set of buyer personas, like how can we use what we know to help close the gap between those, between capital and communities that are 9 times out of 10 actually not speaking the same language. Like English words are being spoken and sometimes Spanish words are being spoken, but they're like talking at these levels, right? So being able to translate and to package things, to hear from the community, what is it that you need and how do we put that in a way that investors, a variety of sets, can actually understand and fits into their goals.
So then, I mean, going a little bit back to what you were talking about, how your early childhood rearing is what really steered you on the path that you're on now and will continue to be on moving forward. Talk to me a little bit about why mentorship with our young adults who may not have that available to them in their home life for a variety of reasons. Why is that important to mentor, and what are some of the things you all do, you do personally to help close that gap?
Yeah, I mean, where to start? Your values got to come from somewhere. Somebody's got to inspire you, whether it's intentional or not. I had it drilled into me at least weekly at school and about the same amount at home. My mom did not ever let us forget where we came from, or that we were lucky that we got to be in the kind of school that we were or have the opportunities that we had. She gave us all the stories of growing up poor and what that meant for her. So having that, that wasn't, I wasn't consciously an inspiration when I was, 12. Because you're just like, what are you saying, Ma? But, having inspiration comes from a variety of places. I think about my sports teams that I participated in growing up. I did some super duper Hawaiian sports.
What's a Hawaiian sport? I'm curious.
I was a very competitive kayaker and outrigger canoe paddler.
So a lot of water sports, of course.
Yeah. But one of my good friends from my club paddling, not school paddling days, she was in the foster care system. And just being friends with somebody who had such a different life from me and building that personal connection and getting to see what Cheyenne went through versus what I went through. And understanding broken systems by seeing them up close. So you get inspiration in a variety of ways. I think mentorship is a really big piece of building access to understanding how these things work. Like Shai was awesome, but she also was so like dealing with her immediate trauma that she couldn't pull up to see the system and what could be changed about it. And so being able to expose more people to how these systems have been built with implicit and explicit bias in them, then like what I tell our team is like this Picasso quote of, you got to learn the rules to break the rules. So being able to share the playbook with more people so that we can use finance as a tool for change instead of just perpetuating its own self.
I think what you're saying is so important, because one of the things that frustrated me the most is that a lot of our key like rudimentary disciplines that is needed in order to help us advance in the world was removed out of schools and oftentimes not taught. One of them is finance. Many schools don't have any type of finance program. I mean, you know, math is great, but in addition to math, how are you teaching the fundamentals of finance? You know, obviously we don't write checks anymore, but still you need to understand what, how to balance your checking account and how to, but I think, you know, obviously a lot of these systems are set up in order to keep us enslaved, and we know firsthand the main community that is kept under the thumb is community of color, African American, Latin Americans, Asian Americans that are, but there's variations of Asian Americans who are impacted at that level too. There's biases within the culture, the Asian culture as well. And so I think, to your point, it is a big beast to tackle, but you all have found a way to do it, it seems like, with your organization. So tell us a little bit about like how you all even got started. You and your co-founder got started with that.
Yeah, so I gave a little bit of the origin story of like, where did I come from in being called to do this kind of work. And so what we did was, another key ingredient is we were getting asked by a ton of foundations locally to come in and tell us about this impact investing thing. They keep hearing it in the news. They don't know what it is. They want to learn more about it. Can you explain it to us? So we would do these sessions just for free to see, like, please be more responsive and use more than 5% of your assets for your mission. Pretty please. So we started with that, and they would say like, okay, cool, this is great. But I don't see any deal flow in the community. And like, have you gone outside?
And by outside, we mean outside of your little bubble that you
outside of La Jolla. Yeah. So, you know, we saw this incredible needs in the community, really innovative programs that were moving forward. Lots of really wonderful ingredients of people using business as a force for good, nonprofits that are exploring earned revenue models and having more sustainability than just waiting for the next gala event to happen.
Or a grant to roll out.
Right. There are great things. And we said, okay, we need somebody that can help to connect those pieces together. What we knew is that investors are comfortable with fund structures. That's something they get. So we said, okay, how do we design a fund that meets the needs of the community and meets the needs of investors? So on the community side, we worked with CDC Small Business Finance, which is one of the biggest SBA lenders in the country, and they're based in Liberty Station. They're awesome. Worked with them and worked with Union Bank Foundation to see like, okay, who are you turning down who's not getting served, and what kind of boundaries can we
This was the bank actually tracking this information? And
Oh,
was able to give it to
every
them?
bank tracks their turn downs. Yeah, they see like, here's the ones that we didn't approve. Yeah, they have their decline rates are mandatory to be tracked. They're not
Are
mandatory
they
to be
tracking?
shared.
Well, let me ask the question I really want to ask. Are they tracking by like our demographics? Everything's in there, right? And
I
their
think they need
ethnicity.
to, but the data that I was given did not have that included.
Yeah, that's what I want to know. I'm like, they're actually tracking, like, I
Oh
mean, that
yeah,
they're sharing, like, that surprised me. Okay.
they don't like to share because it's
Yeah.
not a pretty picture.
Well, exactly. We all know about redlining in the real estate industry, and we also know about predatory lenders
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to our community as well and how they operate.
Yeah. Yeah, so the line we drew around what the community needed in the immediate was this access to debt capital in the $100,000 to $500,000 size. So better than microfinance for those businesses and nonprofits that have gotten a start. They've gotten into having revenue, but they don't have enough to tap into those bank pools of capital. Maybe they don't have a perfect personal credit score, or they've only been in operations for a year and the
Yeah.
banks want to see 3. You're like, okay, how am I going to get to year 3 if I'm producing revenue, but I can't hire more people, or I
Right.
can't invest in this technology, or I can't invest in inventory.
Right.
So providing this debt capital in that size as a complement to other things that exist out there, really with the goal of growing our small businesses and making sure that what we structure into our processes and our applications and even just like how we work is to make it accessible and not just like, well, we have an open door policy, but nobody comes through that door that doesn't look just like us.
Right. Exactly.
But ensuring like this door is like ADA accessible, or this door is in a place that magically is where the community is at.
Or like you actually go out in the community and meet them where they are instead of waiting for them to walk through the door.
Exactly. And like our goal is to make a more inclusive economy and to have everybody participating fully, because we think like that's morally the right thing, but also economically the right thing, because it's expensive to continue to invest in a broken criminal justice system. And 9 times out of 10, if you had education, opportunity, quality jobs, and really strong, social determinants of health in place, they don't have to turn to these other systems, like, things. Entrepreneurialism that's not really within the bounds of the law, right?
Right.
So,
I mean, we were just talking about that on my last episode where we were like, do what you can do, but within legal ramification. We don't want no one to kind of get caught up.
yeah. So, we're really intentional about being in the communities and making sure that we're not just in the community and talking at people or impacting at them, but really we want to co-create with our communities.
So are you guys training?
Yeah.
You offer training as well? Because that's a big part is, you can give me something, but if you show me and teach me how to do it, then I'm going to advance at a greater rate than I would if you're just giving me something.
Yep. So we do that in both like breadth and depth. We do a lot of the kind of introductory workshops where we can. Like, I don't get paid for this, like,
Yeah.
ever. But like I did a session with Rise last week.
Yeah.
And
Oh, that's
like,
right. You were telling me.
yeah, just like having an investor that understands this world that seems super murky and seems like there's a whole set of rules that nobody was going to tell them about. to really break it down and have authentic conversations. And I talked through, I went through like a workshop format and then had 3 different entrepreneurs tell me about their idea. I asked them a bunch of questions and then we pulled up to see like, okay, this is what all investors are looking for. And here's the pieces to put into place early when you're building your business so that you're in a strong position for these kinds of things. Like, and this is why contextually we ask this kind of question, because this is my motivation to understand that. You might just be wondering like, okay, like you asked for this number. What does that mean in terms of your decision making?
I think so. I mean, to your point with that one, I think one of the main areas where we see in like the early stages of our founders pitching even their idea, oftentimes they're lacking a strong financial deck slide to really show how they're going to be able to raise the capital that they need, and even understanding the numbers. I think all of that, and that's part of what We the Plug is actually focused on, which is boosting up that area of educating our founders, especially in the Pan-African and Latinx community, of understanding why those numbers early on are so important, so that when they get to your level, they're able to speak more comprehensively about what they have in front of them and how you all can best help advance them to the next level.
Yeah, and that's so great and perfect. Like when we got started, We the Plug didn't exist, Connect All didn't exist. A lot of other programs that are doing work in the community, we're like, this ecosystem is kind of sparse. Now there's more resources that are available. So I just plug into the communities that
are. The plug.
I plug into the communities that exist and say like, let me meet you where you're at. Like, I don't need to go. Well, now we literally can't go door to door, but I don't need to do that anyway. I'm going to add value to your network. I'm going to add value to your community. And it's a lot easier for me to show up and have an audience that's there. So that I'm really grateful for We the Plug coming into being. I had so much fun at the event that you guys had around Startup Week last year. So we talked about that breadth piece, and then we have also a piece of depth where we recognize that our team was very diverse intentionally and also wasn't fully representative of our community. So we designed and launched a community finance fellowship for a 1-year paid role for 5 individuals from overlooked and underestimated communities.
Oh, wow.
To join our team. Yeah. To join our team.
That is
to break that
awesome.
cycle. Yeah.
No, that is exactly what I'm talking about. Putting your money, your time where your mouth is, matching it up. So has this already launched, or is this about to launch?
It's launched. Lord bless our fellows. They're the best.
It's a labor of love, isn't it?
Well, it's a labor of love. It's also, I am so impressed by their resilience and their smarts. They started, hold your breath, swallow your coffee. They started March 23rd. So 1 week into sheltering in place, they started this program with us in a virtual environment.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And they're doing great. They're fantastic. I was running a little bit behind today because I was talking to 2 of our 5 fellows, Louise, who's from Southeast, and she left San Diego, moved to DC to go to Georgetown, and had been working in legal, and then realized I hate legal. I want to work in business. Didn't find out about the fellowship through San Diego networks. She found out about it through Georgetown networks because we have friends there. But she moved back
See
to
the
San
importance
Diego.
of reach, expanding your ecosystem. I tell people that all the time. Go beyond the 4 walls or the 4 corners within your neighborhood. Step out.
Yeah, I mean, Louise is, she is a Hoover grad, and she got a bunch of scholarship opportunities, and like she's like a perfect case of somebody who was mentored, and some people saw promise in her, and she got to go and learn so much, and then also saw an opportunity that she doesn't have to leave. There's opportunity within her hometown too, that she doesn't have to like make impact somewhere else. But there's enough momentum in San Diego now that there's a role for her to grow here, which is like, it just like makes me so happy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The other four are Essence is first generation Mexican American, Crystal's first generation Mexican American, grew up in Barrio Logan. Andrew is special. He's first generation Nicaraguan, but he came to us from Miami. He drove across the country to show up. And so like we have this thing, we celebrate the best win of the week. And his win the other day was that he managed to find toilet paper.
You know what? That is a huge win in these times that we are doing. I'm looking for a toilet paper dealer. I'm not even lying. Like it's crazy. Like the stuff that we are dealing with. I mean, I found toilet paper. I'm good now. But for a while, I was looking for a deal. I was like, who got that toilet paper? Who got that Charmin? You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how long is the program that they're in?
It's a year. So
that's right. That's what you said earlier. So it's a year-long program.
I guess this is the end of week 7, I think. I don't know. What is time?
Yeah, time is just, you know what? This is a true example of how time really doesn't have much form because we're just kind of flowing right now. But is it a daily engagement or every other day? Like how many times a week are they engaged?
They are full-time members of our team for this whole year.
Okay.
So the first couple of weeks were really context setting and sharing definitions, getting those tools to understand the financial system. Yeah. But also, if you think about it, like their first day being March 23rd, this is right when the CARES Act was getting passed.
Exactly.
So we put them immediately to work. We're like, okay, this was our nice little plan for your curriculum through the year. And that's going to just get reshuffled. We're going to not go in the order that we thought of source, select, support, investments. But instead, we're just going to pull support up right now because that's what the community needs. And so we put them to work on researching all the stuff that was coming out, 400 emails a day, right? Of here's what you need to do with COVID. Here's what you need to do with COVID. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, what do I need to do? Where do I turn? Who can I trust to actually get where I'm coming from and give me the 5-second summary of what I need to do. Yeah. So they bless their hearts, spent like 3 days each digging into federal supports, regional and local supports, and then philanthropic supports. And they put that out there. And then that's what informed our website. We have a bunch of resources for small businesses and nonprofits. So that was tremendous.
Plug that. It's mission-drivenfinance.com, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So people can check it out. And so
they went to work.
Yeah. What is the outcome that the outcome and output that you're looking for with these 5 individuals once they've completed?
Yes, you, Christiana, I know you are familiar with a logic model based on that conversation right there. So we actually have the cutest logic model. I gotta be honest.
Oh my God. I am not embarrassed to say that I am I geek out over logic models. I geek out over implementation plan. Like when I tell you, they just make me so happy to put them together. Oh,
I'm gonna make you so happy. Let me see if I can share this today.
Oh my God.
Where's my chat? That. We got limited technology options, but I can.
It's okay. Email it to me, or
I'll email it to you. But yeah, so we had, we had these like, what do we see in the conditions? We see financial system structures and policies that are both intentionally and unintentionally restricting access to capital and opportunity. Restricting access to capital is restricting access to opportunity.
Right.
The fact that our sector is hella white and mostly dudes is also a problem.
Facts and
because
facts.
Pattern matching. I don't even have to take it farther than that. Or just we get it. And then there's this disconnect between the financial industry and communities that are overlooked, primarily communities of color. So being able to, right, we talked about those are the capital and community are like running in parallel.
Right.
So with the fellowship, we're looking at growing the capacity of the individual fellows, building connections in the community so we don't have that big disconnect, and then also increasing the cultural awareness and cultural competency of the investment field. So with that, we'll be able to, fellows will come out of it with the ability to get careers in finance. Benson, the last of the 5 fellows, is a Ugandan refugee, and he has a degree in finance. He's been trying to break into the finance field, but he was in that like really gnarly cycle of you can't get experience unless you have a job, can't get a job unless you have experience. And we said, you look amazing. We want you on our team. We want to help you reach your goals of running an investment firm and give you the expertise to be able to do that. It's probably not going to go from being a fellow to running a fund.
Sure.
But he will be able to get a job that continues to build his expertise so that he can do that a few years further down the line.
That is incredible. I mean, literally, you're growing your own, are farming your own investment cohort who are going to go out and hopefully be able to create their own firm or partner up with another firm that's doing this great impactful work. Is this going to be, this is obviously your pilot, is depending on how this goes, is this something that you all are looking to do reoccurring each,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Our goal is to run this for 3 cohorts and see where we're at. Of course, like we're learning through the process. We got grant funding to be able to provide the full salaries as well as some, not all, of the operational support to make this possible. And then I have to raise more grant capital to make that possible for the next cohort. So TBD when that's going to happen. We have an amazing funder who said, this is incredible. We want to pay for 3 out of the 5 fellows to be connected to New American communities. And we're like, okay, I guess we're getting started.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So unless I find another one of those really quickly, we'll probably have a smaller gap till when we run the next cohort. But they're working as part of our team and hopefully getting us to be able to deploy $10 million over the course of the year.
Well, let's put that out there. Send us over information that we can put out to the community to push, to let them know what you all are looking for as it relates to funding for this great cause. Talk to me a little bit about funding opportunities that you all have in place for small business owners who are kind of caught in this whirlwind of COVID-19.
Yeah, so we have our primary fund is an evergreen private debt fund. We're focused on inclusive economic opportunity. If you're not sure, just call me. But that is the one that focuses on $100,000 to $500,000 of debt, payment between 6 months and 5 years. So that is, we have capital for it. We're running that now. our investors that came in before COVID. So that rate is on par with traditional SBA, not with the relief grants and PPP funding, because that's extremely cheap and meant to serve a different need. We break this, what we look at with the pandemic is seeing kind of three phases. There's relief in the immediate, which is I need to figure out how to pay my team. I need to figure out how to take care of things like, because I'm out of payroll tomorrow. That's not us. It's never been us. We're not particularly great at that. We're better at intentional building and rebuilding. And I say rebuilding, not to say let's build it back exactly the way it was, because the way it was sucked. So let's build it.
Or something was broken as to why I'm in the situation I'm in now, you know.
Yeah. So we're looking at how entrepreneurs and nonprofit leaders are intentionally rebuilding our communities to be more equitable and resilient. We know that many of the inequities have accelerated the pandemic's effects, particularly in communities of color that are more vulnerable. There's so many reinforcing things, and we're like, this is like this is a right thing to do from a moral perspective, but also from a safety perspective and from a economic perspective. Come on now. So we've been working on a respond and rebuild initiative that will be to provide flexible capital for entrepreneurs that are pivoting their existing capacity to serve a need and to reduce the effects of COVID at this time. And, you know, that will also have a longer term tail, not just that they're using their 3D printers to create PPE. That's great. But that also seems more like a relief effort than a response. Like, we'll probably have another pandemic and need to have masks and other things available, but that's not really going to have necessarily a strong revenue source for the next few years, right? Like,
it's not sustainable. And that's what you all are looking at. And you're actually answering that next question that I have is, how are you all addressing post-COVID? Because again, we know things are not going to go back to the way they were. And this new world that we're going to move into is going to look a lot different, especially for people who are in the disenfranchised space. So yeah, continue. You're speaking right to that.
The rebuild effort, we're looking at more responsive structures and being able to attract national capital that wants to deploy into communities, because that's one of the big revelations of the CARES Act, is that our financial capillaries, as Friends called it, are not working so great. The veins might be fine. The aorta is probably fine. But it's not getting into smaller communities or into smaller.
No, it's not. They are suffering tremendously. I mean, we get calls all the time saying, my bank is not responding to my call. I've submitted all the paperwork and I'm getting the runaround. It's reminding me of 2008 and 2009 with the housing crisis, when it was all these promises. We know that the system is not set up to support it. So what you all are doing to change that narrative and doing the training on the front end, and also being very transparent with, we're not able to match certain interest rates, and here's the reason why, but this is what we are able to do that is still affordable and manageable for you to be able to keep your business running and or pivot
and grow it. We
Yeah,
want to be able to grow it. I think the other piece, like, I hesitate to say it sometimes because it's super complicated, but we know that grants are the right answer for most folks because they don't have revenue visibility. They don't know when we're going to be able to fully reopen and when their customer base is going to come back. come back to what kind of level of normal.
Yeah.
So grants are the right answer for that. Honestly, business closure, as sad as it is also the right answer for a lot of that. And then loans with a set payment schedule, when you don't know where your revenue is at, is also kind of tricky. So we're exploring having some revenue-based financing structures so that we might have a minimum level that you return to your 2019 percentage of your revenue. And then if you hit the minimum level, then have a revenue participation that is paying for the principal, and then not have the way that RBI is currently set up that it's providing a multiplier to investors. This is really just to figure out how can we have a more responsive payment structure that meets entrepreneurs where they're at. So if you are at 200% of your 2019 revenue, then if we're saying like 5% of revenue is going towards principal, you'll pay that down quite a lot faster than somebody that is only at 75% of their revenue.
Yeah.
But that will not, you don't like pay more. You don't have a fixed term. You have a fixed principal amount that you pay down. And then that acceleration would allow for us to repurpose capital back out into the community to another business, increase that velocity, as well as to support the businesses that have a good month and a bad month, right? Where you don't have a fixed payment that you're like, I am really not sure, or what do I have to give up to be able to make this payment? So we're looking at those kinds of structures to be able to have some flexibility and really support the full reopening and rebuilding again with this better structure.
Okay, that's excellent. So then all of this information regarding what is available to business owners is easily located on the website?
Easily.
Well, when I say easily, like there's a section that says funding opportunities.
Borrow. Yeah, there's
borrowing
a section borrow. Our Marcom team is in the process of revamping the website because we've been designing products so quickly. But we have the advance fund, the $100,000 to $500,000 size. That is information's on our website at missiondrivenfinance.com/borrow. Our respond and rebuild effort is really more for other parts of the country that we're working on creating place-based strategies to support other communities too. And then let me throw a third wrench out there. Then we're the deployment partner for the San Diego Foundation for the loan funds that they have been raising. This is in addition to their grant pools, but they've raised now $10 million, $5 million for from the County of San Diego for small businesses in the unincorporated areas, and $5 million for nonprofits anywhere in the county. We are helping them to strategize the whole thing. And then we're also the deployment partner for the nonprofit aspect. So
you're the fiscal agent for it. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we'll be originating and servicing and doing all the fun stuff of the nonprofit loans. So
for that one, they would apply through the foundation. I actually am familiar with foundation. I helped an agency 2 years ago apply for funding through them. But so they would apply, they would go through the foundation to apply, correct?
So there's like 14 different partners helping to get this going so that we can move quickly. We're trying to share the load. There's actually a separate website, San Diego SBNLP.org.
San Diego SB
LP.
So
it's the
you said it's .org.
It is the San Diego County COVID-19 Small Business and Nonprofit Loan Program, because you get that many people involved and you start adding more words to it.
Of course. But that link will get us to the application process and then more information about what the requirements are.
Yeah, so we're ironing out the eligibility criteria, and we'll update.
The first round will be dispersed in June, is tentatively what you all are looking at.
Yeah, and we're looking at phasing it so that you don't run out of money, and then you're like, sorry.
Yeah. So is this foundation, is this connected to the interest-free loans?
I mean, we are running the interest-free loans for the foundation. Yeah.
Okay. So the fund, the 10 million that came through the foundation, and you all are the fiscal agent. This is loans. This is not grant that people are applying. Okay, that's just the distinction I wanted to make sure of, because I know the foundation does grants, but you all are managing that, and it's going to be loan. Perfect. All right.
Yeah,
I got it now.
We're trying to get more money into that so that it's not just for for-profit businesses. It's not just that you're in the unincorporated areas, but we're working with some other agencies trying to get more funding into that, where we can expand access to the program. There was the world's most hilarious press conference with the Board of Supervisors.
We can continue to thrive. So thank you so much for today. How would I say thank you in, gosh, you're a mixture of so many different things, but spent so much time in Hawaii. Yeah. Is it goodbye, aloha, as well as hello? Yeah.
Aloha means love, hello, goodbye, just a general greeting.
Aloha means love as well. I didn't realize that. Oh, well, I love that. Now I'm going to be saying aloha.
Yep.
So many people, and they're going to be like, hello, thank you. Aloha to you. Thank you so much. And I'll get the information.